What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode on my channel. As always, I'm Jay, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Justice League. That's right, the film that has been criticized so much and has been anticipated just as much has been released this past weekend, so I do have a little bit to say about it. The good, the bad, what I liked about it, my take on it. But before I get into any of that, guys, I do have to warn you about the spoilers that will be in this video. So if you haven't seen the film, you've been warned. And if you want to see it without any of this stuff ruining your palate, please, please, please do not watch this video. But if you don't care about that, join us as I discuss Justice League. Taking place after the events of Batman v Superman, we see Batman and Wonder Woman trying to recruit a team of other superheroes to stop the imminent threat of Steppenwolf and his parademon invasion. Steppenwolf is trying to retrieve these 3 different artifacts known as Mother Boxes, which once they are merged will allow him to be able to take over the Earth and actually terraform it and make it like his home planet of Apocalypse. So throughout the course of this, they have to actually stop him from doing that and prevent him from taking over the Earth while trying not to kill each other in the process. Overall, they end up getting their stuff together and awesomeness ensues. So how was the film, you guys ask? Well, I do think that the film was very good in my opinion, and you know what, to say that it was terrible is really an overstatement. It's not bad, it really isn't. It had a lot of good moments, and overall I really did appreciate what the film had to offer. Now that's not to say there aren't some bad things that they could have worked on within the film, and honestly I do need to point some of these out just because of how blatantly obvious it was that these things were not really taken care of, and the time to do certain aspects were kind of let go in the pursuit of just trying to crank this film out and actually get it, you know, so that it kind of appealed to the massive audience and not really in keeping with what we had before. But anyway, guys, like I said, I'm going to be giving you my reasons that I didn't like about the film and the things that I really did like and highlighted the film for me, and I'm going to give you my take on it, starting with the bad. So the bad things about this film. Generic plot. This plot's been used a million times over, and every single banding together of any Justice League, whether it's been animated in the TV show, cartoon, or anything like that, anything wherever. I'm so desensitized to the factor of it being an alien invasion film that it's just so commonplace now. It always happens. They always have to band together to stop an invasion of some kind, because what else is going to get the Justice League going? And I understand that. And one of the saving graces of that generic plot was the fact that in the previous film, Superman getting killed was the catalyst, was kind of like that suit of armor being taken off. The vulnerability factor turned up to 11.5 because you don't have the most powerful superpowered being in the universe to protect from an alien invasion of this magnitude. And then, of course, that leads into the fact that Batman and Wonder Woman recognize this, and they do have to recruit other superheroes to protect Earth from said threats. And so that right there was kind of a redeeming factor in itself. Moving on to another little annoying thing was the subpar special effects. I've got a great imagination and I love sci-fi epics. I don't even want to go to a movie and see things that are extremely real, because what's the point of me going to a film and kind of escaping reality, you know? That's really the whole point of a film, is to kind of escape what's going on in your day-to-day life. And for this right here, and things like the Avengers or anything like that, I can suspend my disbelief to a degree. And with this, you know, I was able to do that to a certain point, but there were certain things in this film where I really said, well, why did they do that aesthetically? Most notably, Steppenwolf was played by Karen Hines, who is a great actor, phenomenal, has a great strong presence, and yet they did not use his likeness as Steppenwolf in the film. I mean, we live in a world where we have Caesar, you know, from Planet of the Apes, looking extremely real, but we couldn't take 2 seconds to like put some dots on Karen Hines' face and let him emote all of the things and kind of do a motion capture thing for his character that he's playing inside of the film. I just don't see why that was like that. I mean, they could have done it, and I feel like that would have helped a lot in this film. Aside from that, though, the backgrounds, the different locales, you know, Cyborg and all that other stuff, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't bad at all. But one of the other almost horribly noticeable things in this film, and you know, I have to be honest though, I don't know if that I would have noticed it if I didn't know about Henry Cavill having a mustache while he did reshoots, was his upper lip in the film. There were a lot of points in this film where you could tell they reshot certain scenes and they CGI'd his mustache because he couldn't shave it, because he was doing reshoots at the same time of him doing the filming for Mission Impossible. And I'm thinking, we had Paul Walker's face superimposed on, that one scene at the end of Fast and Furious 7, but we couldn't get Henry Cavill's upper lip to look legitimately good. And I mean, there's some points where it does blend in pretty well, but there were other points where I'm just like, oh man, this is terrible. This is so bad. But that's kind of over to another thing where it's like, the reshoots. What was reshot? What needed to be redone that they couldn't have gotten the point across with whatever Zack had done? Because from what I heard, he did a good portion of this film already, and they decided to workshop half of it again with Joss Whedon taking it up after Zack left for, different reasons, including, a family tragedy, which, is terrible. But the thing is like they kind of, I feel, almost hijacked his movie at that point and gave us something that wasn't exactly what was originally intended, in my opinion. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just felt like that right there really is kind of where some of the problems as far as that specific incident goes, where they had to CGI because of reshoots that they ended up doing. I don't know if it was to make the structure better or whatever, but Henry Cavill's mustache cover-up was terrible at a lot of different points in this film. But aside from that, the special effects were pretty good. And within any film like this, you are going to get special effects. These people can do fantastic things, and they can do things that you would never, ever be able to do in reality. So you have to be able to watch these with a high amount of special effects. No way of getting around it. Straying away from the consistency of the other films was kind of a little thing that bugged me too, especially since I did actually like Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. The inconsistency, not only with the tone of what we had before, because people want it to be lighter and want it to be more like the Avengers, but moving on to the inconsistency factor of the origins of the characters. Aquaman and Cyborg. Aquaman, we saw him kind of in this type of makeshift armor, or this armor that looked Atlantean with a spear or a pitchfork or Triton or whatever you want to call it in the clip that Lex Luthor had. And then in this one, we don't even see him with any armor. So are we led to believe that he was with the Atlanteans or that he wasn't? I mean, that was an inconsistency. It was a minute one at that. And as far as Cyborg's concerned, remember when he was just a torso and then the mother box kind of encompassed him and gave him new limbs and an extra body and everything? In this one, we see his head fully intact and all of that stuff happening, and the extra limbs and everything like that. We don't even see the clip of him and the mother box kind of merging and everything like that, like we did in the last one. So that's a big inconsistency for me. I mean, honestly, they should have just kept the other scene with that, because that would have made it more consistent and it would have tied it back to the other film, and it would have made sense as to why he's got kind of a cover over half of his face, because half of his face was missing. Not to mention that, but the fact that there was so much in the trailers that we didn't get to see in the film speaks volumes about how much they did to kind of shave the time off of this film, which was one of the other major things that I didn't like. This film is too short for its own good. I get it. You want to get it moving along. You want to keep the consistent pace and everything. But guys, this film suffered because you cut its balls off. I mean, you cut the time to 2 hours or just under 2 hours, whereas the other films were about 2.5 or so. This is the film that you want to be longer because you can explain a little bit more stuff and you want to get more of the origins for all of the heroes a little bit in there. Oh, no, we don't need that. Yes, you do. When you have an audience member like myself who wants to know a little bit more about these characters, such as Aquaman, The Flash, Cyborg, aside from what I know from the comics, you have to invest and give me more scenes, man. I don't even care what the other complaints of the other films were. Those are not the other films. And on top of that, let the people make the films they want to make. It's better for it to be truly authentic than for it to be to pretend to be another version of some other film or derivative of its competition. That's the worst thing in the world you can do, is when you make these films like their competition. Then what's the point of making it in the first place when it's just like X, Y, and Z films that are from this company? There is no point. So while those were the shortcomings of the film, I did have a lot of good points for this, especially when it comes to the characters. The way the characters interacted, the way that they were cast, they all have excellent chemistry, and they had a lot of times where they actually showed great emotion, and you got a lot out of their performances, especially Ray Fisher as Cyborg, Ezra Miller as The Flash, and Batman and Diana. They had a great set of scenes together, especially being the leaders of the group and everything. And there was this one scene in particular where he ends up talking to the team about reviving Superman. And then, of course, she's saying, no, this and that, and you can't, you have to move on. And then he brings up the whole idea. He's like, did Steve Trevor tell you that? Because he calls her on her bullshit to the point where she shoves him into a bunch of crates and everything like that. It's like, who are you to tell me to move on when you had a century or whatever? You had so many years where you didn't even move on. Next was the action of the film. The action was so good in this film. It wasn't anything crazy amazing, but it was still very good. I loved how they handled the Flash running. I loved how they handled all the different aspects of every hero and how they dealt with everything. Cyborg having his defense mechanisms and stuff on constant watch and he can't control it. Wonder Woman being a badass and the woman that we remember from the last films. Aquaman doing some cool stuff, you know, even though he was out of water for the good portion of the film. And then on top of that, one of the biggest pieces in the film, and one of the things that I really liked a lot, was the fact that when Superman was revived and came back to life, he was whooping ass and kicking ass on all the Justice League members. It was almost like watching him come out of a Lazarus pit because he was like unsettled and he really didn't know who he was, and he was very on edge and kind of, you know, we saw a different side of Superman that we've never seen before. Especially the part where Barry's trying to run up on him as he's being held by all the three other superheroes. He's trying to run, and he thinks that he can get behind Superman, and then all of a sudden, Superman turns and looks at him as he's running. Are you kidding me? And finally, guys, one of the major things that I really liked about this film was the mythology that had been set up. Long ago, there was a big battle with the Mother Boxes and Steppenwolf against the old gods, as he called it. Then we see the likes of Zeus, the Amazonians, the Atlanteans. We see a Green Lantern, a freaking Green Lantern, an Archer god, all joining together to fight him. And they stop him from getting the Mother Boxes together and actually conquering Earth. That is so awesome. And on top of that, there was a freaking Green Lantern. The Green Lantern, however, got killed in the battle, and his ring came off and went to go in search of a different worthy person to possess the ring. But the thing was is that there are those things in there. Plus, seeing Zeus with the thunder, I think that's kind of a precursor to what we're going to get with the Shazam film, because Shazam does have the powers of certain gods and everything, so I feel like that's a good little setup for that to kind of jump off of, and I feel like him and Wonder Woman will kind of have a kinship almost, because they do share some godlike imagery and kind of mythology and everything like that, which will be awesome. Overall, my take of the film, I feel like the film was very solid. It was very good. They did compromise a little bit of the tone just to get asses in seats, which I don't think paid off. Again, I'm a big advocate of let the person make the movie that they want to make so that we can watch something that's different and kind of contribute to whatever you want to for these characters. You can't do the same old stuff and everything without adding something new. And especially since it's a film, there are certain aspects where you have to take things out and give things to the characters that are your own or that are new to the story and everything like that. And I feel like there was some of that going on, but there was a lot more catering to the audiences because they really wanted to make sure that the movie was successful. And despite it having kind of a lackluster criticism and everything with Rotten Tomatoes and everything, I do feel like the film is going to be a success. I do feel like we're going to get another Justice League. We're going to get the other films, Flashpoint, an Aquaman film, and all that stuff. And of course, I do think we're going to get that Shazam film still. But overall, I do feel like they wasted a lot of potential, and I'm really hoping that they do have a extended director's cut of the film with the alternate scenes and the other scenes put in there, because I do feel like this film could have been a lot better had Zack been able to kind of helm it out and, you know, if everything had gone according to the original plans, in my opinion. I did like the old films that we had, except for Suicide Squad. I thought that they were all very well done and good. As far as ranking this, I'd say that this is out of the 5 films right now, I'd say that this is number 4. I really did like Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, and Wonder Woman, and I can't really separate them. I can't separate them off of the shelf because they're all on that one level. And then just slightly below that is this film right here, Justice League, because again, they kind of watered it down, neutered it a little bit, made it more friendly for the audiences, in my opinion. And you know what? It's not a bad film. It's not a bad film, and there are worse films out there, and there are ways that we can come back. One of the saving graces of this film was that it was not trying to look or be like the Avengers. It was its own thing. It was trying to do it from its own perspective, and they didn't try to make it like the next Avengers or Captain America Civil War or Thor Ragnarok. They did what they wanted to. They set out for an original story, and I think it paid off. So overall, guys, I definitely recommend going to see this film, especially if you're a fan of DC EU films or if you're a fan of the DC properties. I give this film a solid 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was good, and you know what? I think you'll enjoy it for sure. As always, guys, I'm Jay. Like, comment, subscribe, leave all the feedback below, even if it's negative feedback. And until next time, guys, take care.